I'm Dr. John Monero. I'm a chiropractor. I've been in practice for 27 years. I've always considered myself a very healthy person. I never thought in a million years that I would contract the COVID-19 virus, even though I knew it was out there and we took all the major precautions to avoid it. It got me. My journey with COVID, as I tell everybody, started out on November 29th. It was a Sunday morning. I was out in my yard doing some yard work, sitting around and having coffee. I had no symptoms. I may have had a little bit of runny nose from allergies, which were seasonal. By 11 o'clock, I started to become winded. Within that short minute span, I doubled over and almost passed out because of the oxygen levels were getting depleted. At that point, my wife called 911, and I was taken by ambulance to Inspira Medical Center for emergency treatment. I laid there in the bed for the first 2 weeks, and I thought I was getting better. But in that time of the 2-week period, there was a team of doctors and nurses that came into the room, and I was scared. I didn't know what was happening because I was kind of in and out, and they told me that there was a major issue going on with my breathing. So they pulled out what they called a BiPAP mask, and it was a very pressurized mask, forced air in and out. At that point, the doctor asked me if I was willing to be vented if they needed it, because that's the next step, he said, from me going from the BiPAP. I was crying. I didn't know what to do, and they were getting ready to call my wife and tell her where I was and what was happening at that point. I remember a nurse holding my hand, talking to me. I remember another nurse had her hand on my back talking to me, and the two of them were very comforting for me. At that point, I laid there for about 3 days. My breathing improved enough that they told me I could step down to the normal hospital room. Nurses were all happy. They all came in and told me they were so happy that I made it out of the ICU to the regular unit. 4 days before Christmas, I kept my promise. I was able to get home and celebrate my son's birthday on that night that I was there. So, you know, I'm very grateful that the hospital and the nurses and the doctors and their staff all made it possible for me to get healthy and get back to where I am today. So just make sure not to take COVID-19 for granted. It could hit you in a matter of hours. You could be healthy one day like me, and the next day, you know, pretty much on death's door. You don't know. I've never had a medical problem in my life like this, and I woke up to a very serious reality that this COVID-19 could have taken my life, and it still can come back and take my life, because you don't know what the long-term exposure to this disease is going to be. I was very fortunate to have Inspira Medical Center so close here in Vineland. Vineland's a big town; it's like 80 square miles. But from the time I was picked up by the ambulance, it was probably about 10 minutes there, and they got me right in. They're your closest ally. They will save your life. They will be here for you. They're in town. They're your hometown medical center. They really are. And they're just something that just may save your life in the long run.